Good morning. Today we're going to be discussing the origins of human civilization. Theories on prehistory and early man constantly change as new evidence comes to light. This is from a paleoanthropologist, and what he's saying here is that as new evidence is found, new theories develop. The stages of early human development. Human development really starts around 4 million years ago, and stage 1 goes up to about 1 million years ago. Stage 2 from about 1.5 million to about 250,000 years ago, and stage 3 from about 250,000 years ago to about 30,000 BC, and stage 4, 30,000 BC to about 10,000 BC. And these are known as the Paleolithic or Old Stone Age. The Paleolithic Age. Okay. Paleolithic means Old Stone Age. And that's a time period from about 2.5 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago. Paleolithic man made simple tools, usually out of animal bones. They hunted. It was the men's job to hunt, while the women gathered primarily. And they were usually in about small bands of 20 to 30 humans, and it was a band usually consisted of tight-knit family members. They were also very nomadic. They moved from place to place, and they followed the animals which provided them their sources of food and materials. Stage 1. From about 4 million to 1 million years ago, you had hominids. Okay? And a hominid is any member of the family of a two-legged primate, and that includes humans. The first one is Australopithecus, and you can see here that they looked more like an ape than a modern-day human. Right? They had an opposable thumb, which means they could grasp things. Homo habilis was a man of skills. You're going to see a little bit more highly developed thinking and thought processes here. Still not looking too much like a modern-day human. These are found in Eastern Africa, shown here on the map, modern-day Ethiopia, or the Horn of Africa. They created some stone tools, primarily using other stones to chip away and create sharp edges. And you can see here examples of arrowheads that they fashioned to sticks and used to kill animals. Paleolithic Age. Humans during this period found shelters in caves. Okay? It was easily accessible, it was easily made, it was already there, and they just settled there. There were cave paintings left behind. That's how we know that they were there. They expressed themselves by using different materials, berries, dyes, blood in some cases to make artwork here. And primarily the artwork left was those of the things that they knew best and counted on the most, which were animals. And they also left their handprints, so we know that they had modern hands. What's the purpose of this? The purpose was to express themselves and so that their mark could be left behind. Stage 2, from about 1.6 million years ago to around 30,000 years ago. Okay? This is Homo erectus, which means an upright man. You see that they stand more upright and start to resemble what we consider a modern human being. Okay? They were bipedal, which means that they used 2 feet. They walked on 2 feet. And you can see they start to look more like a modern man. They had larger and more varied tools, very primitive technology, but the start of what we would consider technology. The first hominid to migrate and leave Africa for Europe and Asia. Again, here the theories vary a little bit. Most people agree that they came up through Africa into Europe and then traveled through Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and on through Asia. They were the first to use fire. Again, theories are debated as to how they actually discovered the use of fire. But fire allows them to cook and to scare away animals that may prey on them. The different human migration theories. Are we all Africans under the skin? The answer would be yes. Originally, our ancestors of all modern man started in Africa here, and as this slide shows, the theory is that they went up and traveled over thousands of years through Europe and Asia and into North and South America and finally Australia. Okay. Another theory is a parallel evolution theory, which means that they all dispersed about the same time as opposed to a slow progression from the radiation theory. Stage 3. from about 200,000 years ago to about 10,000 BC. And these are Homo sapiens, or modern man, okay? A wise human being. There they are. From there, they broke off into two branches, the Neanderthals and the Cro-Magnon man. Stage 3, the Neanderthals. Okay, there's an artist's rendering of Neanderthals. They were found around what we would consider modern-day Germany or Austria. They were the first humans to bury their dead, so they had a sense that they were alive and they had ties to each other. They made clothes from animal skins, usually kept the heavy furs because they lived in colder climates, and they lived in caves and tents. Stage 3, Neanderthals. Continued here. This is a slide that shows Neanderthal sites that have been found around Europe. As you can see, they're centered here mostly in Central Asia and slowly radiate out from there. Okay, that's an example of an early hut or a tent, not what you consider comfortable or a nice place to live, but it did the job for them. And that's just an example. Their brain is starting to expand and they use more of it. Stage 3, the Cro-Magnons. Okay, these are Homo sapiens sapiens, or wise human beings. Okay, and there's an example of some of the skulls and artifacts. You can see here that the skulls start to resemble more modern human beings. It looks like somebody who could have died a couple hundred years ago and been buried. By 3000 BC, they replaced Neanderthals. In the race here of evolution, the Cro-Magnon man has defeated Neanderthals. Why did they? Okay. Most people can agree that their use of tools and their ability to think in higher level thought processes allowed them to outlive the Neanderthals. Okay. Homo sapiens sapiens in Europe. And they start in generally the same area in Central Europe here and radiate from there. Okay. The last ice age. From about 70,000 BC to 10,000 BC. Okay. In this time period, the weather in general became colder. The ice caps from both the north and south poles crept up and down. And as you can see, it really limited the areas that human beings could inhabit safely or comfortably. The Neolithic age. Neolithic means new Stone Age as opposed to Paleolithic, which means old Stone Age. This is from about 10,000 BC to about 4,000 BC. In this time period, you're going to see a gradual shift from nomadic lifestyle and hunting and gathering, where they were forced to chase the animals down, to a more sedentary community. They settled down, started to grow crops, which made them able to sustain and support larger populations of men and women. They knew that the food was going to be secure and they could find it in the same place every year. More permanent and settled communities emerge. Around 9,000 BC, some of the earliest settlements of man where they established communities were found in modern-day Iraq. Around 8,000 years ago, the largest settlement, again, in modern-day Middle East, this one was in Turkey, had around 6,000 people. So you can see that they started to form decent-sized communities. They cultivated many crops here. They also divided labor, which allows people to be more efficient and create more sustainability. They engaged in trade with other small communities. They had an organized religion and a very small military to protect themselves from attacks from other small communities. Okay? Early settlement communities. There's an example of a hut. And what role did food supply play in shaping the nomadic life of a hunter-gatherer and the settled life of a farmer? Okay? That's what I'll leave you with today, is the idea that by forming small communities and shifting from the nomadic hunter-gathering society into a settled, established society, you had the growth of modern human beings.